Hello. Welcome, everybody. It is Friday. It's Friday. And that means it is time for Muppin Sewing Emporium. How are you doing tonight? It's been a week. It is already the start of September. I can hardly believe it. Can't you? It is one of those weeks, one of those days. I gotta tell you, I am so excited to be here. I hope you're doing well. If you're out there, say hello. I would love to see you and hear from you today. What we have for you, my good friends, and oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, I am Cheryl Whited. I am your host. I am Muppin, and this is Muppin Sewing Emporium. We got a lot of stuff for you tonight. If you're out there and you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up, give me a comment so I can make sure that all of this technology is working. I hope you're doing well. You're probably wondering where Mr. Spooky is, and Mr. Spooky, he fell. And hello, oh Judy, you are a Kentuckian. Mary is here. She's also a Kentuckian. Is that what we say? Do we say Kentuckian? Is I who am a new Kentuckian? I don't know. Jerry is here. Jerry CM Dub. See, we call ourselves this C Dub squared. Charlie Whited, Cheryl Whited, CW. We have nearly the same initials. It is Friday. Where is Mr. Spooky? So Mr. Spooky, he fell. He fell off the wall. The command hooks do not stick to brand new painted walls unless you prep treat that wall, and I did not. And he fell down. But that is also not a bad thing because I was going to have to take him down anyway, because we are about to do a faux finish to this wall. I know you're thinking, how much more are you going to do to this set? Not only am I going to do a faux finish to the wall, but I'm also getting ready to put up the quilt hanging mechanism here. And so, Courtney Paducah. I know, I'm Paducah, but what are you called? Are we Kentuckians? Kentucky, because in Illinois, we were Illinoisans, which I found to be a really silly word. There are a lot of people who say Illinois. It is not Illinois, and those of us from Illinois don't like it when you call it Illinois. And so anyway, I'm getting ready to do that faux finish to that wall, and I don't know what I'm going to do and where Mr. Spooky will end up. I have been thinking he may end up on this side, and he may be hanging like right here. I'm not sure. It's all still in flux. I'm like either really happy with this set or I'm really not happy with this set. I cannot tell. Today, my friends, we have a very cool announcement that the Heirloom Sewing Technique of the Month League is back, and they are coming to there's one coming in October, and October is when this box will ship. Being from Wisconsin, we had a different name for people from Illinois that wasn't really nice. No, we are familiar with that, although we would tell you that you were behind the cheddar curtain. And so, Jerry, I get it. We usually would say things like damn Illinois, or, things like that. Anyway, yay. Mary says woohoo. Heirloom Sewing Technique of the Month box is back, and it is coming to you on October 15th. The link to the new box has jumped into the comments. You can check it out there. Cheddar. Yes. And I have another friend that is a very good friend of mine, and her husband works in a cheese factory. No lie, can't make that stuff up. So she's a really great friend to have too, because cheese. Now, tonight, we're announcing this brand new Heirloom Sewing Technique of the Month box. And I'm very excited because this is the first box that has something in it that is actually very old, which, trust me, has taken me a very long time to get this box together. And a very silly and stupid story as well. But here is, let's get the box. Oh, that's not the box. That's the add-on set. Here is the box for this month, and it is the a pin cushion doll kit. I guess you could call it a kit. Now, what's cool about this pincushion doll limited edition box is not only do you get my instructions, okay, on the pincushion doll, but you get everything you need to know about putting any of the, even the pincushion dolls that you may own. You can use my instructions to create any size skirt that is appropriately sized for the doll, because I have some examples here I'm going to show you of vintage dolls. They do not sometimes have the same proportion body-wise as the skirt would indicate. So I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment. But you will also get, and that is what you see here in this photo, you see right there, the actual, you will get one of these porcelain half dolls from my collection. And they will be random. They will also not all be this particular style. I have so many half dolls, but you will get a half doll that is from my collection. It may not be this one. It probably won't be this one. I have so many, but you will get a half doll from my collection and the instructions. You'll also get, oh, I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. You will also get a square of, you'll get which half of the doll. You get the top half. Promise. You'll get the doll. You're gonna get a square of the of some interfacing. This is my favorite interfacing to use. You're gonna get that interfacing. Bless you, thank you. I appreciate that. Gesundheit. And you're going to get a piece of interfacing. I'm going to show you in a minute what that is for. And you will also get a pair of our skull scissors and a set of needles. You probably think, oh gosh, Cheryl, I already have your scissors and I already have your needles. Well, you can always use a second pair. How many pairs of scissors do I have? Probably 200. So that is what is in the box. Now, you also have the option to get the limited edition add-on kit for an additional $15. Now, this is just more needles, a little tiny pair of scissors, the pencils, the colored pencils that I use to mark fabrics with, and of course the little carrying case. And the beeswax, of course. You can never have too many. It's a great little sewing kit, and you can add that on to your box for $15. And that is one of the options on the page where you can order your heirloom box. It's new. It's very new. I'm very excited about it. And, we are, so in order to find all of my my dolls, and here's just one of them. Can't even get her to come in. There we go. I couldn't even find them. They were in one of, in my storage unit, and I could not, I swore that I was like, oh, I know I've kept these out. I know that I have kept these out of the storage unit. Why would I put them in the storage unit? And then of course, also, why wouldn't I have taken them here? Or did I leave them at my dad's house, right? Because my dad, he was watching my cats, and we also left all of my quilts with him. So I thought, oh gosh, these have to be at my dad's house. So we went to my dad's this weekend. We picked up the cats. We picked up all of the quilts. Guess what wasn't there? The box of half dolls right there. These half dolls were not in that box. And so we looked all over the house. We looked all over this building. Guess what? That meant it had to be in the storage unit. So off to the storage unit we went, and it was 89 degrees out, and we pulled every single box out of the storage unit. It was in the very back. Of course, it was in the very last possible place you could look in that storage unit. And of course, that's where it was. So we have all of my my dolls, my beautiful. Some of them are uglier than others, but all of my very cool half dolls. So some of these were not. Some of these are not pin cushions. Some of these were also used as a whisk broom. There would have been like a whisk broom attached here to the bottom, and they would have been sold in like pairs. And so you would have had, the one, and you can just see the various sizes here as well. Various different sizes of dolls. And you will get a random one from my collection. Now this one, let me pull her video out here. Okay. So this doll is very vintage. She has, you can see all of these pincushion holes they're rusted in the doll, and the leftover metal that was left in the doll here has discolored her skirt. And I really was hunting for what color she was. She was this lovely shade of blue, which meant that she did match her her coloring of the of her dress. So she is original to the pincushion bottom. And this is how you would use her. You would have her on your sewing table or near all of your sewing things, and you would use her just like you would any other pincushion. She's got a very sturdy base here, and that's what this interfacing that you'll be getting in your kit, that's what the interfacing is for. So you can see that will create that flat bottom so that your doll can stand up properly. This one's a very lovely example of this ruffle trim, which was probably made with a flouter what's called a flouter, Fauter, flouter. And these trims, and there's also here some handmade um, fly fringe. You can see here, this is really pretty little fly fringe. This may not have been original to the doll, but it is very, very sweet nonetheless. You can sort of lift up that trim and see the original color of the doll underneath there. So she's pretty nice. Um, she's in otherwise okay condition, but could her base be cleaner? Absolutely. And I haven't taken the time, to get the dirt or anything off of her. She's just sort of as I found her. And these can be fairly expensive when you look for them. The dolls themselves, usually, depending on the style of the arms, the style of the hair, whether they were from made in Germany, which they were often made, the doll portions were made in Germany, or they are more recent and they were made in Japan. And a lot of times on the interior of the doll, there will be, a stamp here, and it can say where the doll is from, or there will be information printed here on the back of the doll, and it will say Germany, Japan, or something like that. So usually the dolls, they kind of fell out of favor right around World War II. So they weren't really made after World War II, although there are certain places that are still making these dolls today, except they're really, really expensive. And the more what they call having their arms away, which there's arms close and arms away. And that usually means that there is an arm that is protruded or on pointing outwardly, and there will be usually this gap here, which oftentimes made these dolls harder to find in good condition, because this has the tendency to get knocked over or get knocked onto the floor, and these protruding arm pieces are usually the first things to get broken or nicked up. Or, as in this case, right, she had a nick in her elbow, and that just got painted and glazed right over. So sometimes they're not, in the best quality, so to speak, but even the low quality dolls can be really expensive to find. So on average, finding a pincushion doll without a base, it can run you, about 20 or so dollars retail. So that's something to keep in mind, because this whole box, for everything that you're going to get here, the pattern, the doll, the needles, and the bit of interfacing, and the scissors, are 30. So you're getting a really, really good deal here, especially when you look at these two alone are $21, and then retail the doll goes for about 20. So $30 is what you're getting this whole package for, which is really awesome. Now, this is the doll that's on the pattern cover. And you can see that she's a little bit different because she actually came with a pair of legs. Now, not all pincushion dolls have legs. The ones that came in the 1920s, they usually would have some porcelain legs with them. And so for something like this, right, where you have the doll, and I made this doll on the episode of Heirloom Afternoon. And so if you don't know about Heirloom Afternoon, why, I will take this moment to tell you that Heirloom Afternoon is on Tuesdays at 12 noon Central Time. And there is a whole episode dedicated to the making of the base here of this pincushion doll. So if you haven't caught that episode, you can go into YouTube or here on Facebook and find that episode. So I used some really pretty satin fabric and a little bit of velvet, and then sewed on this really pretty little trim. And so you can see here that this pincushion is fairly easily constructed, did it all by hand. So you don't need a machine. If you need to use a machine, you can, you don't have to. But she is a very, useful. Put your little pins here in, use your little pretty decorative pins to kind of just highlight some of them, or keep your threaded needles nearby with your pincushion doll. So again, very excited to offer this to you. $30 is the heirloom box for October 2022. We are already working on the next upcoming boxes. And can I tell you that October is super busy? We are going to all kinds of places in October. We will be at the Fredericksburg, Virginia Original Sewing and Quilt Show. That is coming up September 30th through October 1st. We're also going to be at the Indianapolis Quilt Guild's Quilt Show as a vendor. So if you are going at all to Indianapolis, or you are near Indianapolis, we would love for you to come and see us. At the Fredericksburg show in Virginia, you can sign up for some of my many classes. So I would love to see you at that show. We are also going to be in Illinois. We will be in Illinois on the October 14th and 15th. And that one is going to be the Prairie Star Quilt Guild show. So we will be in Aurora, Illinois on October 15th, 14th, and 15th. And then in October 20th, 21st, and 22nd, we will be vending and teaching both at the Original Sewing and Quilt Guild, Original Sewing and Quilt Expo Nashville show, which is very close to here. And we are very excited to go to that. So lots of shows coming up for us in October. We are taking bookings right now for quilt guilds anywhere that you perhaps may live or be. If you are in a quilt guild, we are willing to travel and come and teach and demo and all the fun stuff. So if your show, if your guild is looking for a speaker or a teacher, reach out to us, because we are happy to do that. All right, so here is a pincushion doll that I don't think quite fits the size, although this is original. This is the original pincushion bottom base for this doll. And you can see here that on her the base, it's stamped Japan. And more than likely, if we were to take this doll apart from her base, she would also be stamped Japan, usually on the inside like this one is. So that was always in case they got separated from the base. So as you can see, and one of the things that I cover in the directions is this proportionally doesn't look like it fits, right? Because her body, right, her torso, right, is like almost the exact same length as the pincushion base, and that's not exactly how these should have probably stood up. She probably needs to be at least another inch bigger for you to assume that she's got legs, Lieutenant Dan. She got legs underneath this skirt, and she's not a pincushion doll in the sitting position like this one is, right? So we need, this one would be a candidate for me to go ahead and change the base on, because her base is just not the right size for her. Now, if you look at this doll, right, and you can see how tall her skirt is comparatively, right? This is one of the things that I show you in the directions, is that, you know, here's her torso, and you get the sense that she's got this, the proper length, right? You can imagine that her legs are here, and she's fully standing in this skirt. So that to me is one of those things where you know, when you're making your pincushion doll, there's a ratio of how tall the doll itself is, okay? And then how big the skirt should be, including the diameter on the bottom. And all of that is covered in the directions. And so you will be able to make a doll that is proportional to the porcelain portion that you may have. And if you get the heirloom box, one that will be proportional to the actual doll. So I really like this one, which is from the 1920s or the 1930s. And how can we tell that? Again, there's lots of books available on dating the dolls to the right time period. But we see some of this paint here, which is like a pearlescent paint. And that pearlescent paint and her general style is post 1920s, possible 1930s. So that's how you know how old this doll is, which means she's about 100 years old. And dolls like this, which were from an earlier, they call back to an earlier time frame. This doll was probably also made in the 20s and 30s. Again, it's a stamped Japan, and so you have here, you know, the bigger dolls, things like that. It doesn't matter. These older styles don't really mean anything when it comes to you know, like how old they are. So there's that. What else is going on? Oh, right. We have brand new catalogs in stock. So we just redid our catalog for all of our new products, including my book, which if you don't have my book, my goodness, what are you waiting for? Smockatumi here is still in stock and more on the way. We are restocking next week. More are coming. And so this book, my friends, why you haven't picked yours up yet? Well, why not? So I'm very excited because all of these the book, the new pincushion doll, you could do a smocked effect on the doll itself, which would be really, really awesome. So the you could do a smocking effect on the doll base. So when you place your order for your heirloom box and your actual vintage doll, you could use this smocking technique on that. So don't forget that our book is still here. It's still in stock. I would love for you to pick one up if you have not yet. Or you could come and see me at one of the various shows and pick it up there. Now, I have two things that I'm working on while we are talking about our heirlooms and so on. I picked up this new to me. This is a box that was on the floor at the local antique mall. Now, if you know, I live in Paducah, and down the road from me, or literally 2 doors down from me, is the Paducah Antique Mall. So if you like antiques, you're in the right place. This quilt, which is in pieces, it's a top. And I showed this on Heirloom Afternoon a week ago, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And this yellow, there's 2 different yellows. So first of all, we're going to talk about the block, the quilt block that is here, okay? Because these are done somewhat in blocks. There are 4 pieces, 4 of these diamond-shaped stars. Can you see that diamond-shaped star there? So that diamond-shaped star, there are 4 pieces per block, okay? And so this, you can see that there's 2 going horizontally and 2 going vertical. So they alternated that, and this is repeated all through here, okay? So you've got like these blocks, okay? You can see the same color, on and on and on, okay? So this is all hand-pieced, and it looks to me as if they did sew some of these together, but then tore them apart, or it got torn, because there's these pieces. And these pieces have a different yellow. So they either got a different yellow, or they just, acquired a different yellow. And these little guys, they are not, if I spread this out. So if you're a quilter, right? And let me bring this in. If you are a quilter, you know the phrase, that will quilt out. My friend, that ain't gonna quilt out, because if this is stretched out, you can see that some of these just have wonky sides. And so I do not know how well this quilt will go together. Which, again, is probably part of the reason it was in the antique mall. Okay. Because somebody, again, if we spread that out, you can see this big fold here. So quilting all around these stars is just going to make them look even more distorted, which is probably why somebody started to pick this all apart. So if we look here, we've got, just these, and it's all hand pieced. There's plenty, to do to this. Here's a piece, one of the quilt blocks that I really loved, and it's because it's got this really cool woven fabric in it. And you just get these little bits of it, right? This woven, it's really cool. So I don't know what I am going to do with these. I don't know if I'm going to pick it all apart and sew it back all together. That is my inclination. The other thing is that in several places, the blocks don't turn or tessellate as they should. So in this block, right, this red one, you've got horizontal and vertical, and then this one should have been vertical, but it's offset by 1. And so it's like they messed up and they knew it. And so they either someone later tried to fix it and then fill in with this other yellow. I don't know. But very few of the stars have the new yellow, but there are some. And so here's a couple that have the new yellow. So somebody, did this and did it in pieces, and then like ran out of the original yellow and started using the new yellow. And it is a little harsh under the lights to see the two differences in the yellow. That is exactly how they look in person. So this is like a pale, like creamy yellow, and this is like a hot, hot yellow. It is very different. So these two things, not exactly sure what's going to happen with them. I have, like I said, what looks like how they were doing it was in blocks, where you have four pieces, but then you get to something here and it's like they're next to each other where they should have been offset. So Jerry's asking, is it a different yellow or is it an aging issue? This is for sure a very different yellow. It even has a different hand, which you can feel in the fabric. The one is much thinner, and this hot yellow has a definitely more weight to it. It's actually probably even a different thread count. This is a much weaker fabric. So, there's a lot of issues. Points don't match, all kinds of problems. So it's in my possession. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. So it's gonna live. It's gonna live in the box or in a bag. Now for me, I showed this on an episode before we went away for Labor Day. And what I want to do is I am actually going to take this apart. Now you're probably like, oh God, Cheryl, no, do not take it apart. And I'm telling you why. First of all, somebody has already started to do that. You can see the stitches right here. There's stitch holes. Somebody has already put this together and now has started to take it apart. There are pins here holding blocks together. I guess they were sort of re-auditioning fabric. And come on over here, pincushion doll. We'll have her hold those for me. And these blocks, this blue fabric is not the same age as the blocks themselves. So the blocks themselves are older. Okay, these were transfers, or they were put or sold this way, and you can see they were stitched. You can see right here, very little bit of blue hanging out right there underneath that, underneath those red flowers. That is the original transfer underneath here. And that is the stitch guide. Okay. And so see here also the little blue next to his eyebrows. Those someone didn't stitch in. And so that would have been, all of that blue would have been the original transfer for these blocks. Well, now that someone was taking this apart, And this blue is, you can just tell by the hand of this fabric, it has polyester in it. I know that if you have never sewn before, you're probably thinking, I wouldn't know if it had polyester in it or not. Well, I can tell you, this has polyester in it. If we could do a burn test in here safely today, I would do so. So what I'm going to do is just, and whatever stitch length they used here, they used an incredibly large stitch length. They used like a 3 or 3/5 stitch length here. So I am just I can get my little scissor in there, and that is going to help me just snip these blocks apart. And I would like to reuse these blocks in a small quilt or something like that. But, again, if I'm using this fabric, there isn't enough of that fabric to redo the whole thing. So this little tiny amount of excess fabric isn't enough to fill in the gaps and also do a border. So I am going to snip those apart. Yay, Kathy! Hello. I tuned in while you were live. I am live and in person through the power of the internet, here with you. And so that is what I'm doing. I'm taking these blocks apart from the background so that I can use the blocks in a different way. And I also can see that, this person, whoever made this, they tore this fabric in order to use it in these borders. And so that's why you see like this torn edge here. And that's what is happening. So, it's not a period fabric. And so it is not precious. To me, what's precious is the hand embroideries that someone, took the time to do. And the rest is just, yes, that's someone who tried to put this into a quilt, don't get me wrong, but they never finished it. And I don't have the rest of the fabric to finish it anyway. So it is mine. Now, there's like some additional small stitches here. I wonder if this was done on a treadle. It could have been. So these blocks are just precious. And I hated to see that they would be trapped in this quilt, which it's just not well made. And then their fabrics were uneven. And so, the piecing here is uneven. It's just here they actually went and did a double stitch. I think that something else was happening here. I think they were trying to make the block fit or I mean, I can say I've done that as a piecing, as a quilter. I went and I made my seam too narrow, so I just went back in and made the seam wider. I mean, I've done it, but usually you don't get to see the interior of my quilts. Now, here we are. So, you're probably like wondering why I'm not using a seam ripper, because I can't find mine. All of my seam rippers are in storage. So I'm just, thank goodness they used these really large stitches. And so I could probably just pull all of this apart pretty easily, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to snip every link, but I'll snip a lot of them. And that is going to get me through. And oh my goodness, look at these. So I think that they must have been using a treadle machine or something like that, because here I'm gonna zoom in so you can see. Right here, look at how tiny those stitches are compared to how fat these ones are. Okay, so how long those stitches are. So what happens is with a treadle machine, okay, the speed can vary, and that's how fast your how long your stitches are. And so that could be why this did not get, this is just not stitched well. There's tiny stitches and then big fat stitches. And you really only see that when your machine stitch length is powered by how fast you're in those machines, like how fast your feet can go. So those are some fat stitches. They're much longer in places than in other places, and this is one of those places, right? So you can just see here the stitches are really long, and then in some of these spots, like the stitches are itty bitty. And it's like, well, what slowed you down, to do those tiny stitches? Now, also, too, like they could have had their machine set on the world's tiniest stitch length and then realized it, for this little short amount of stitches. But man, are those tiny. Those are itsy bitsy. Which makes ripping them, so much fun. You don't want to rip, like actually rip stitches. When we say seam ripper, we're not taking this and pulling it apart and ripping it. We're not doing that. We're clipping the stitches, and that's allowing the edge there to come free. And we do need to undo the stitches in both directions, because this block is sewn on two sides. And once we get that side free, see, gosh, those are so small. That's going to allow me to get in there. And what we don't want to do is snip the fabric like I just did. Not into the seam, but right there on the edge I did. Be careful. Those long stitches were when they were watching their 7-year-olds wield a hot iron. You are not kidding. If you watched our episode on Heirloom Afternoon about irons, you would know that child irons were a real thing, and child irons that you used on a hot stove, sad irons, and I have a whole episode about sad irons. That is why they were not toys. They were actual irons made for children to lift and use. Because guess what? Everybody had to help, including your children. And so, yeah, that became quite, that is a great episode. Thank you, Mary. That is a great episode of Heirloom Afternoon if you have not caught that one. We do have some more iron episodes coming because now that we're in the studio and the other set is prepped, we will be doing that over on the Heirloom Afternoon. So stay tuned for Heirloom Afternoon's new iron episodes coming. So aren't these the sweetest though? I mean, and they're very cute. And like I said, I just, got to the point where these needed to be freed from this hideous poly awfulness. Now, if you were a child of the 70s and you perhaps happen to still have, and and I'm just going to say, I am one of those people that still have these things, right? My parents never threw anything halfway decent away. And that was true of sheets, towels. It didn't matter. The problem was they were all these poly cotton blends. And if you've ever tried to buy poly cotton blend fabric from the thrift shop, or you get it in a quilt. That was the scissors. Get it in a quilt like this, okay? You can smell the poly cotton. The poly cotton keeps those vintage odors really like you can just tell. So part of the reason is that this poly cotton is it's not worth keeping, and it will not shrink at the rest of the rate with this quilt. It will not quilt at the rest of the rate with this quilt. And so it's just time. It's time to pull all of that out and get rid of it. And that's what I'm doing. So my mom would cut up sheets to use for glass cleaning. Absolutely. My dad still uses old pillowcases from the 70s. They're like those puke green and yellow and orange colors. And that stuff he uses to clean his windows. So yeah, cleaning with sheets is really great. Judy says, as a child, I tried to learn to sew on my mother's treadle machine. It belonged to my great grandmother. I could never get my feet and fabric movement coordinated for consistent stitches. That machine is still in my collection. I also have my great grandmother-in-law's sewing treadle, and it is very hard to sew on that machine. And I do plan to do an episode or two actually of Heirloom Afternoon about treadle machines. And so, Judy, we may be able to get you up and running on great grandmother's or mother's treadle machine, my great grandmother's treadle machine. And so just to remind you that this month we have the pin cushion doll just released out over on the link is now coming into the comments, and the pin cushion doll is you will get a random pin cushion doll from my collection. Where'd she go? There she is. Okay. You'll get a random pincushion doll from my collection. These are very old. So you're going to get a pincushion doll that is very, very old. And the pattern for making the skirt, as well as our scissors, needles, and a square of one-sided fusibles. So I'm very excited about this new heirloom box. This will be one of many heirloom boxes to come. And that actually includes something really vintage. And so the heirloom that you are getting is the heirloom, is the actual pincushion doll from my collection, plus the information on how to make the skirt. I'm so excited. It's very cool. Like I said, been a while since we did an heirloom box. And oh, Judy, I can't wait for that treadle episode either. It's going to be a lot of fun to get that treadle episode out. And again, I'm really excited to get this out there. We do have a limited number of dolls that I am willing to part with, and therefore your random doll, they're not an unlimited supply. They are sourced. I have been working on that process for a really long time. If you missed last week's special with the vintage salt cellars and the punch cups, I'm sorry. We will be bringing that special back. But we have other truly vintage finds that we will be including in upcoming heirloom sewing boxes. And I'm very excited about that because, again, I just feel like, I curate these boxes. Each one's different. We have a lot of fun doing different techniques with them. And so in this one, you get an actual vintage doll, half doll, and the pincushion pattern, how to do that. So if you have a collection of half dolls of your own, that would be something that you could then make for your other dolls in your collection. So I am very excited about that. Me and the sweet tea from here in the South. I am converting myself into a Kentuckian by drinking my sweet tea. It's so good. And so again, the heirloom box is out. The book is out. The heirloom templates, the tufting templates. I gotta say, we're getting such a good response to those tufting templates. There are more tufting projects coming. I'm very excited about the ones that I'm working on right now. Like I said, a lot of my sewing things are in storage, and therefore I don't have my sewing machine set up. It's going to be probably a long time before I get my machine set up. Currently my machine is at home, and I have one in storage, and I have several vintage machines that probably aren't working in good working order to sew on. But I don't have a table to put my sewing machine in. I have all these other things that are going on. So hand sewing it is for me right now. And that's what's going on. It is, it's September, and Labor Day was this past week. And I've got to tell you, I want this year to slow down, because I can't believe that I'm already planning my Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals. And I know you're probably doing that. You're probably like not yet thinking about Christmas, but we are. Mary, I remember our hand sewing days too. And those were good days. Lots of sewing at your house, sewing at my house, sewing at my old boyfriend's house. All kinds of fun stuff we used to do. I do miss that as well. I have been looking at getting into the local Paducah Quilt Guild, so that is going on here as well. And I'm working very hard on figuring out what we're going to do as far as the renovation for a building. So we're still working with the architect. It's still on its way. Nothing has happened yet. It's all this hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. So we're in the waiting phase right now for our blueprints. Very excited. My friends, it is 8:00, and that means it's time for me to go. But please do head to my website, see if something tickles your fancy. I would love to send you one of our new catalogs. If you would like a catalog, I would happily send you a catalog for free. Please just put a comment in the comments, and I'll reach out to you for your address and send you one. My friends, have a wonderful fantastic weekend. I will be back on Tuesday with Heirloom Afternoon. Enjoy yourself. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Mary. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.